This situation could be solved in a 45-minute meeting. I have invited congressional leadership to the White House tomorrow to get this done. Hopefully, we can rise above partisan politics in order to support national security.
All right, the president making his case for the border wall, demanding that Democrats prioritize border security in today's big and crucial meeting at the White House.
But if negotiations continue to stall, what is the scope of the president's authority to act on the border wall himself?
Here now to weigh in on that is senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation, John Malcolm. John, thanks for coming on today. The president's got some room here to do some things. Let's take a look at what he might be able to use. These are some laws that could authorize his building of a wall without Congress. Number one here, you can see this is a 33 U.S. Code 2293, not that it matters, permits halting Army civil works projects and redirecting troops for national defense projects. We've also got one that permits military construction projects not otherwise authorized by the law, and then permits funds being spent on counter drug activities, which is another good one because most of the heroin's coming from there and the fentanyl. Can he do this?
Well, that remains to be seen. So the first thing the president would have to do is to declare a national emergency under the National Emergencies Act. He would then have to tell Congress why this is a national emergency and define the scope of that emergency. And then he'd have to tell Congress what other statutory authority he is relying upon in order to spend appropriated but unobligated funds to build a wall. You just cited a couple of statutes. There are 130 some odd statutes in the federal code that empower a president to do this kind of thing under appropriate circumstances, but it would certainly be challenged in court.
You know, I think a lot of people waking up this morning perhaps surprised that the president didn't declare this a national emergency last night in his address. Where do you see this happening from here? Do you think at some point he is going to declare it a national emergency, that he'll have to?
Well, I don't know that he'll have to. He may very well. I was one of those people that was a little surprised that he didn't do it last night. I think he is, looking to apply public pressure and win over the hearts and minds of the American people. That's why he gave the speech last night. But if these negotiations drag on for a period of time, and if the government shutdown starts to bite on the economy, he may very well do that.
You know, he made the case. He made a lot of points. Everybody was so eager to fact-check him. The fact-checking probably didn't go as well as the Democrats had hoped because most of what he said was pretty accurate. There were some things that they said needed to be put in context. But I guess the question is, do the Democrats care about any of these facts? Did he change any of their minds in the response? He certainly didn't. Do you think anything changes in this meeting?
No, I think public pressure is what's going to change minds, and that will not happen in a 45-minute meeting today. I mean, he laid out a rather compelling case. He talked about the increase in drugs coming from the border. He talked about the violence committed by people who were illegally in this country already. He talked about the plight of the migrants that are brought into this country, suffering violent assaults, a third of women being sexually assaulted, all the money being made by the coyotes that bring them across the border. But that has to now catch hold with the American people, who will put pressure on legislators.
Just, John, before we go, if he is to at some point declare this a national emergency, what do you think is going to happen from the Democrats?
Well, somebody will challenge it. Whether they'll have standing to do so remains to be seen. The House as an entire body, as opposed to individual legislators, might have standing. And they'll go to court and they'll say, look, this is not a true national emergency. This is, as they said last night, a manufactured crisis, and therefore he lacks the authority to do what he's purporting to do. And courts are reluctant normally to weigh in on national security issues, but there were a lot of judges out there that weren't so reluctant when it came to the travel ban. So we'll have to see what they do when those lawsuits get filed, if they get filed.
And if they get filed, I guess the big question is, can they freeze the project where it stands, or does the project continue until there's a final verdict? Because obviously, whatever happens, it'll be appealed and appealed and appealed. What do you think?
Right. Well, it depends on whether a judge has the temerity to enter an injunction, and possibly a nationwide injunction, to stop the president from doing what he wants to do. Of course, that would escalate the crisis and make it far more likely that the Supreme Court would step in, and step in early.
Wow. Okay. Good stuff. Thank you so much, John.
John, appreciate it.
Good to be with you.